Here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts. Hey, Pete, ever wonder what Steven Spielberg's favorite film is?
You know, Andy, I've heard he loves classics like Lawrence of Arabia, Meet Me in St. Louis.
Imagine chatting with him about why those films resonate with him so much.
That's exactly what we do on our podcast, Movies We Like. We've had incredible guests like actress Dee Wallace, cinematographer Eric Messerschmidt, director Steve Miner, and former Disney animators Tom and Tony Bancroft.
They share their favorite films and the impact they've had on their careers, offering fascinating insights into the craftsmanship and storytelling techniques that make these movies so special.
If you're curious about the magic behind the scenes, subscribe to Movies We Like from True Story FM on your favorite podcast app. New episodes are released on the fourth Monday of each month with early access for our members.
Join us on Movies We Like as we explore the movies we all like with the people who make them.
And Stephen, our people will call your people. Let's make this happen, puppy.
Subscribe today.
Coming up on The Devil's Details, Hell is a Fixer-Upper. Paradise Lost, Book 2. Good morning, Star Lovelies, and welcome to another episode of The Devil's Details, a show where we dig up, decipher, dissect, and deconstruct the many forms of the devil. One of my names is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I sometimes go by Keenan Diaz.
And we're just two lost souls hitchhiking down the highway to hell. And just a reminder, today's episode was originally recorded as bonus content for our first podcast, The Exorcist Minute, so I think we should hand it over. Take it away, past Lester and Keenan. Today we are bringing you Book 2 of John Milton's epic poem, Paradise Lost. You'll remember, last week in our first book, Milton dove right in, literally, headlong into a burning lake. The battle in heaven had already been fought, and Satan and his angels lay in confusion and ruin on a burning lake, which, Keenan, we didn't talk about this burning lake. Is it magma, or is it just a lake that is on fire?
Oh, actually, it would be lava.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I assumed it was water.
That's what I thought. I just assumed that hell was a landscape where everything was on fire.
Yeah, they do mention it boiling. They use that term. But I guess, anything can boil.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
If it's hot enough.
Yeah, anything can boil if it's hot enough. Yeah. Any pizza can be a personal pizza if you...
You just believe in yourself.
You just believe in yourself, yeah. But yeah, well, okay, so also on this lake is Beelzebub, who is different from Satan, according to Milton.
I'm sorry, I have jokes about personal pizzas.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, because you would get like the Pizza Hut book club thing, and you would read enough books and they would get it, and then you'd be like, yeah, it's a personal. You're like 5, so you're an idiot, you don't know, and they're like, oh yeah, it's all to myself when personal just meant small. But like, I'm gonna just share this. Well, you can't share that,
no,
because it's too small.
This is literally like 3 slices of normal pizza.
Right? No, but it's personal. I read the books. You didn't read the books.
Yeah.
You didn't read Hop on Pop. You couldn't. It's beneath you.
Yes.
I mean, it's above you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all upside down with this hell thing here,
there's no personal pizzas for math. There's
No, they did not.
Yeah.
Because then we'd get the trouble where like Americans, right? We can't tell that like a quarter pounder is smaller than a third pounder.
Jesus Christ. I thought you were going to say that like the math teachers would make them do math while eating the pizza. It's like, this is 1/8, right?
Yeah, and the business teachers make you make your own pizzas.
Yeah. Because no, Keenan, you don't understand that. It's a fun bonding experience that fosters a family environment. Yes. So say my corporate overlords. But yeah. Anyway.
Don't go to work to make a family. All right,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. But speaking of overlords here, so yeah, we also in this lake is also Beelzebub, who is different from Satan, according to Milton.
Right. Absolutely, it needs to be different so that I could play him in the movie.
Exactly. Right. So far,
Satan. Yeah.
There we go. Right, folks, it's happening. 2020. It's happening.
Are you trying to think of a year?
Yes.
Quick, name a year. Name a year.
Angela Lansbury. I don't know. But no, so far he does seem to be like Satan's like second in command.
Yeah.
They talk a little bit. Then Satan breaks his chains and rises up out of the lake. He's really big, by the way. They all are. Milton reminds us of that. He gets ashore. He sings "Let It Go" from Frozen. And then after this, he turns and addresses his troops. Inspired, they stir themselves and rise up from the lake as well. Satan makes one more speech once they're all gathered on the shore, and they all cheer. And then there's a montage in which all the demons fly over to this active volcano, and they pillage its insides for gold and precious metals, and they scoop it out and they set to work. And by the end of the montage, they have built the palace,
or the city,
or the Capitol building. It's unclear, of Pandemonium. That's the name of the place, right? The first time ever that word was used, it was coined by Milton. It literally means all the demons. This place is resplendent. It is beautiful. It is more magnificent than anything built by man. It is also 6 inches tall. They did not build it to scale because, as we established, there are no bananas in hell. But okay, so they magic school bus shrink themselves down so that they can all fit inside. Satan calls a council, and that is where book 1 stops.
Yeah, those kids eventually are like Miss Frizzle, like you say it's a magic school bus, but all it ever does is shrink down to go inside of things. Can we do something else? No, the school bus can do all sorts of things if imagination is your guide. I don't know about that. I think it's just a shrink device.
Oh, well, maybe this magic school bus just wants to stay shrunk then. Mrs. Frizzle goes off and has a little frizzle of her own.
Yeah, little margaritas. Full-size margaritas.
You kids can just stay down here in the colon. Right. And discover the magic of digestion.
Give me a 5-star review. Or maybe you'll stay in the descending colon for the rest of your days.
Yeah. Or until the second movement. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so that was not the magic school bus stuff. That was book 1, right?
Oh, there's like 80 magic school bus books, so this would be confusing.
Right. Yeah. This is guys, Paradise Lost is less confusing than the magic school bus. You heard it here. Okay, so let's jump right in and read the argument at the top of book 2. Remember, folks, Milton added this little summary, this little Star Wars crawl at the beginning of each book in the later editions. So this is the argument for book 2. The consultation begun. Satan debates whether another battle be hazarded for the recovery of heaven. Some advise it, others dissuade. A third proposal is preferred, mentioned before by Satan, to search the truth of that prophecy or tradition in heaven concerning another world and another kind of creature, equal or not much inferior to themselves, about this time to be created. Their doubt who shall be sent on this difficult search. Satan, their chief, undertakes alone the voyage, is honored and applauded. The council thus ended, the rest betake them several ways and to several employments, as their inclinations lead them, to entertain the time till Satan return. He passes on his journey to hell gates, finds them shut, and who sat there to guard them, by whom at length they are opened, and discover to him the great gulf between hell and heaven, with what difficulty he passes through, directed by chaos, the power of that place, to the sight of this new world which he sought. So that's what we got for today. The poem opens with Satan on his throne, and he is starting to feel like he could get used to this. He's got his throne. He's got a palace, loyal subjects. It's going to be all right.
This is Kevin McAllister at the Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
That's exactly what's going on, right? And Tim Curry's there because, he's a devil.
Exactly. He's a devil. Sure.
Yeah. And he's just, he's the butler, and he just kind of like, a tray lowers down right, next to Satan's head. And he's like, would the young master like a personal Little Nero's pizza?
Personal pizza.
Yes. Just for me, Papa Satan. It's like, oh, he doesn't know that it's only 3 slices. Just let him have his fun. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, so Satan is on his throne and he addresses the council, right? So he opens up addressing them by their ranks in heaven. He says powers, dominions, deities of heaven, right? And he says that he, Satan, has not given up heaven for lost. And he says, from this descent, celestial virtues rising will appear more glorious and more dread than from no fall, and trust themselves to fear no second fate. So this fall has actually made them all stronger. Not only that, but they're in hell, so it can't possibly get any worse. He goes on to remind them that they chose him for their leader, and none should envy him, because who here will envy whom the highest place exposes foremost to stand against the thunderer's aim, your bulwark, and condemns the greatest share of endless pain? So he's going to be their shelter. He's going to be the main target of God's wrath. And because he suffers the most, no one should want to overthrow him. And thus they will have more unity and more loyalty than heaven does.
It also sounds a little bit to me like he's saying, like, once we get back up there and win and overthrow heaven, it's going to be even better than if we had won the first time, right?
Oh, because
like
we'll be
even, it's going to be so much better now that we know what it is to be down here in hell and to have lost. So
right,
it's really good that we lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, yeah, it's like Satan knows. Like as soon as he switches over to corporate, like he's he's got all the language.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. And I love how as soon as he establishes himself as the leader, he's like, now some of you might be thinking about rebelling against me, but come on, guys, we're better than that. That's what happens in heaven, not here.
They're all cheaters. They're all, you're cheating on a cheater.
Yep. That's exactly what's going on. But yeah, so he ends by saying that their aim is to, quote, claim our just inheritance of old, surer to prosper than prosperity could have assured us. I love that, sure, right? And by what best way, whether of open war or covert guile, we now debate. Who can advise may speak, right? So he, the council has officially begun. He invites anyone who wishes to speak. And so we get the first speaker, our good buddy Moloch.
Hey, buddy.
Hey. There's all the child sacrifice and stuff. And you're like a cow with like, you're either an altar or like a furnace. You're like both.
Yeah, it's like a pizza oven.
Yeah.
It's got his personal sized children in his belly.
Exactly, right? It's like every child is a personal sized child. If you believe in me.
If you find no other gods before me.
Yes. No other pizzerias. Yeah. Anyway.
Before me.
Yeah. But yeah, so Milton says, he ceased, and next him Moloch, sceptered king, stood up, the strongest and fiercest spirit that fought in heaven, now fiercer by despair. So we remember Moloch was one of those false gods of the Canaanites, and Milton says that he deemed himself equal in strength to God, right? Remember, the Canaanites were worshiping him instead of God, right? Mm-hmm. And rather than be less than God, Moloch prefers to be nothing, or perhaps no one. And in this way, like by losing everything, he has also lost all of his fear. So he says, my sentence is for open war. Of wiles more unexpert I boast not. Them let those contrive who need, or when they need, not now. So he votes war. He admits he's not smart enough to hatch schemes, and he leaves that to angels smarter than he. But he also says now is not the time for scheming. He says, for while they sit contriving, shall the rest, millions, that stand in arms and longing, wait the signal to ascend, sit lingering here, heaven's fugitives, and for their dwelling place accept this dark, opprobrious den of shame, the prison of his tyranny who reigns by our delay? So scheming takes time. And meanwhile, he and a million other angels are going to be waiting around, and for him, it's going to feel like an acceptance of their fate.
Is that literal millions, or is Moloch just one of these guys?
I think he's just one of these guys. Well, okay.
Been sitting here for 1,000 years.
Yeah, right? Okay, 1/3 of the angels in heaven. Mm-hmm. How many is that?
How many of them can fit on the head
of a pin? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. See, that's the weird thing. Is like we could look at it both ways. We could say millions, or we could say like he's just, it's him and 5 other guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they go. He does a pizza place. They do a burger place. But yeah, and he's like, it's like millions of other angels, right? And take note of that, folks, right? Both Satan and the other demons have this like pride of being like heaven born, or the sons of heaven, right? And they continually refer to themselves as angels.
Well, they are, right? I mean, when are they going to not be angels?
I know, but like they're.
Oh, but you're saying, but like Milton doesn't call them angels, and they call themselves angels.
Well, no, he calls them like bad angels or fallen angels.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
When I say they refer to themselves as angels, like it's more like they don't acknowledge, like we are the sons of heaven, they say. So it's not even the word angels. It's like our place is heaven still. Right. They believe, right? There it was like we are the sons of heaven. We are heaven born. And we're just having a really rough time right now. And, give us a break. We'll be on our feet soon. We're the sons of heaven, right? Yeah. So Moloch is not about scheming. He's like, no, right. I can't do that. He says, he's like, let us rather choose armed with hell flames and fury all at once over heaven's high towers to force resistless way, turning our tortures into horrid arms against the torturer. And maybe he's looking around at all their faces, because next he says, like, but perhaps the way seems difficult and steep to scale with upright wing against the higher foe. So he's like, I know what you're thinking. Impossible, right? Mm-hmm. And he continues, right? If there be in hell fear to be worse destroyed, what can be worse than to dwell here, driven out from bliss, condemned in this abhorred deep to utter woe? So he continues, more destroyed than thus. We should be quite abolished and expire. What fear we then? He says, any punishment worse than hell would quite consume us and reduce us to nothing, which is far better than eternal torture. So he basically says, yes, this is a death sentence, but what if, stay with me, that was a good thing, right? And again, I just imagine everybody's shocked faces, and he's like, or, if our substance be indeed divine and cannot cease to be, we are at worst on this side nothing. And by proof, we feel our power sufficient to disturb this heaven and with perpetual inroads to alarm, though inaccessible his fatal throne, which, if not victory, is yet revenge. So he's like, hey, if we can't die and we can't win, we can still keep fighting God forever because we're winners. We're not quitters. And that's what winners do. Yeah.
A little bit like the gods, some of the Norse gods, I suppose.
Right.
Like, we'd rather die in battle than that's better than just sitting around doing nothing.
Right. And if we can't die, great. We'll just battle forever. Right. And yeah, Milton doesn't give us a glimpse into Satan's mind right now, but I imagine he's thinking, I like this guy's energy. I'm going to keep him around. Right. Like he's gonna when he does switch to corporate, like who's that guy in corporate who like gets everyone amped up, right? It doesn't matter like how stupid the thing he's talking about, like he tries to make it sound way better than it actually is.
Yeah, like the opening comedian act for corporate.
Sure.
It's like, yeah.
Also known as the manager. I don't know. Right.
Or not even the
assistant
manager.
manager.
Not the manager, it's the one who wants to become the manager. Right?
Yes, right. Like
come on, guys, we all have to get on board. That's the only way synergy is going to work and get our KPMs up for the fourth quarter.
Synergy, right?
That's right.
He's got a PowerPoint. And he's like, we can make this work. Come on. No. But okay, so that's Moloch, and that's what he suggests. I want to focus on this council and these different demons, because after this, it's going to be all Satan all the time. So, Keenan, what do we think of Moloch and his proposal? Is there enough of a distinct character in just these lines of poetry?
Well, it's interesting because there are characters here, and then I just keep thinking about like, well, we're giving them names of real demons. I don't know if this is
or real
Moloch's,
like gods or whatever. Yeah.
Like of real existing entities, right? And I don't know if this is Moloch's character, right? So this feels like Milton is making a character of his own, whereas some of the other ones later on that we're going to get to, right? They square a little bit with what I understand from what you've been teaching me about these characters.
Oh, I see. So it's just like so you're differentiating between like this is Milton's Moloch, versus like the Canaanite Moloch.
Yeah, that's sort of like why use his name again? Why call him something else and then make up a character that I don't think squares with what Moloch would say necessarily.
He's very like pro-war. He's not like so yeah, to your point, Keenan, he doesn't stand up there and he's like, you know what we need?
We need to eat children.
Yeah.
So I don't know where is any of that in the speech is my question. Or is he like, oh, you eat 1,000 children and then for the rest of your life, oh, that's Moloch. He's the guy who eats children.
Yes.
Like, there's more to me than that, Keenan.
Right. I'm very warlike, as Milton has written me.
Right.
Look at me. I'm all about war.
Right. I'm all about let's go out with the blaze of glory if we need to, not just sit around here. Right.
Ignore the children. Just,
I'm just thinking, where is the child sacrifice part? Where is the part about Moloch being served as opposed to him doing things for the greater good and that kind of thing?
I think it was just this is just a case of Milton picking a god, an old Canaanite god, and being like, he'll be the one who likes war,
right?
But yeah, so Milton's Moloch is very, very pro-war, right?
Right.
He's that kind of like, I imagine him like this the beefed up like, old general, right? It's like, I say we get it back out there.
Old blood and guts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So Keenan, what do we think? Okay, so that's the character of Moloch in this poem. What do we think of his plan?
Just to go up there and keep fighting until they dead.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe not this time,
or
but
not.
Next time. Yeah. Just keep doing it. I think that's interesting that we start there because, as I understand it, we're going to go quite a different way. So to start, in the exact opposite of where Satan's going.
Yeah. Now, if you were in this council, like let's say, neither of us are named in this council. We're not important enough, but we are also demons here, and we're just kind of like sitting around, right? And we're sort of in the back, right? And like what would we like after he sits down? Do we clap? Do we like it's like we literally just lost?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah, I would be much more in favor of the subterfuge idea.
Yeah, right. I'd stand up there. It's like, in case you haven't been keeping up with current events, we just got our asses kicked, man. It's game over, man. And all the angels will be like, what are you doing? It's a reference. It's a reference. It's
like, what do you want us to do? Like, make little barbells down here and get stronger? Like tiny little barbells for us to lift? Like, what's the plan? Like, well, yeah, why would it work a second time?
Yeah.
Where, this time we're weaker and demoralized. And, yeah.
Like literally we've just gotten our asses handed to us and it's like, let's do it again, right? Like I feel really good about this one, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of where this counter argument comes in from Belial. We talked last time about Beelzebub being the second in command, sort of the sycophant, but I think Belial is actually the worm tongue in this equation.
Okay.
Listen to how Milton describes him. Maybe not. I could be wrong, but listen to what he says. So, on the other side uprose Belial, in act more graceful and humane, a fairer person lost not heaven. He seemed for dignity composed, and high exploit, but all was false and hollow, though his tongue dropped manna, and could make the worse appear the better reason, to perplex and dash maturest counsels, for his thoughts were low, to vice industrious, but to nobler deeds timorous and slothful, yet he pleased the ear. So he's got a silver tongue, this guy.
I wonder in Lord of the Rings books, is Worm Tongue beautiful like Belial is? In the movies, they just, they choose Brad Dourif, who is, I like him in One from the Cuckoo's Nest, where he's
I love him,
a pretty boy, but later on he becomes like, the voice of Chucky, and he's in The Exorcist 3 as the host of Pazuzu or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
But is he pretty like Belial is?
Actually, okay, I take that back. So I'm reading up on this. Yeah, he is. So Belial is like he's got this like outer facade of just being lordly and dignified, and it seems like, what did they say? Yeah, a fairer person lost not heaven, right? So he's really, really pretty, but his words are just like worthless, right? Which is what his name means, right?
Worthless, yeah.
Yeah, right. So let's listen to his argument. He says, I should be much for open war, O peers, as not behind in hate. So he's like, I get it, guys. I hate God just as much as you, and I would be all about war, except what Moloch is suggesting is suicide. There's no chance.
And suicide's a sin, so.
And so, we got to remember that. And all the devils around the table say, didn't think about that. But yeah, he's like Moloch's over here talking about like revenge, and Belial says, first, what revenge? The towers of heaven are filled with armed watch that render all access impregnable. Oft on the bordering deep encamp their legions, or with obscure wing scout far and wide into the realm of night, scorning surprise. So we can't even surprise them. Angels are patrolling all over the place, right? And the tower's filled with armed guards, right? And he goes on to say, even if they bring all of hell with them to corrupt heaven, God would remain incorruptible and defeat them again. And so all they can actually hope for is death, and that's a really sad cure to all their pain. Not only that, but how do they even know God will grant them their wish? Most likely, he's going to keep them alive to torture them more. And he also has something to say about Moloch's and Satan's idea that this is as bad as it gets. He says, is this then worst? Thus sitting, thus consulting, thus in arms? What, when we fled amain, pursued and struck with heaven's afflicting thunder and besought the deep to shelter us? This hell then seemed a refuge from those wounds. Or when we lay chained on the burning lake, that sure was worse. So he's like, is it really the worst case if we're able to sit around and have this meeting, right? God is no longer attacking us, and we're not chained to that lake anymore, right? You can't tell me that wasn't worse than this. And he points out that God could definitely reach down and punish them more, and they might be, quote, hurled each upon his rock, transfixed, the sport and prey of racking whirlwinds, or forever sunk under yon boiling ocean, wrapped in chains, there to converse with everlasting groans. So he's painting a picture. He's like, you think this is the worst.
Yeah, but, is God so powerful he can't make a worse hell, right, than
right?
you can suffer through? Like, no, of course he can't. Like,
yeah, right, yeah.
It's
and
infinite.
Exactly. And as for being sneaky, how can you deceive God, quote, whose eye views all things at one view? He from heaven's height, all these our motions vain sees and derides. He's probably watching us right now, guys.
Well, I think they should think that, because he let them go over their chains, right? I mean, they know that this is.
Well, he doesn't. Right? See, I don't think they know that.
They think that they were just really strong and clever.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And this is okay. So this is a good point that we should probably make, is the argument that Belial is making and that some of them are making. It's like, oh yeah, God is all powerful. I don't think within the world of the story that is an understood thing by the angels.
Okay.
So he's kind of saying God is really strong, he might be all powerful. It's not like just a matter of course. It's like not just like a fact, right? That we who understand God would know. Like they're like,
yeah.
Because why would they rebel in the first place?
Well, that's what I was. That's part of my question. Is why didn't they have this argument 10 days ago? But
no, I think the characters of these fallen angels and Satan think that God can be defeated.
Right, that would have to happen, right? But then he threw them out of heaven to a place they didn't know existed. That was 9 days fall away. Into a burning, boiling lake of magma or lava. So this is where they're figuring that out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just they're maybe not like figuring it out. I think they're coming to terms with like, oh, like what if maybe he is all powerful. Yeah, no, I think
All right, cool. That's very interesting.
So Belial's saying is like, like there's nothing saying that he isn't watching us right now, and hey, maybe like if we just kind of like chill, maybe eventually God will also chill out. Quote, whence these raging fires will slacken if his breath stir not their flames. So he's saying, it's like, maybe he might, let up if we're good little boys.
He'll take on a hobby and won't have, he'll to do Sudoku and not worry about what's going on.
He'll forget about us, right?
Yeah.
So Milton says, thus Belial with words clothed in reason's garb counseled ignoble ease and peaceful sloth, not peace. Keenan, what do we think of Belial? What do we think of this argument?
Yeah, well, I don't like that he's taken over for Beelzebub, which is the part I want, and having Satan's ear. Like, no, that's my part.
I don't think. I think it's a little bit more complex than that. I think Beelzebub and Satan are still buddies.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think this is just like he's just kind of like this. He's speaking up and he's saying we shouldn't fight.
All right, so you and I are fallen angels in the back there. We've had this big fight, and Belial comes and says we should just do nothing and just sit around here and make this our new home. That's basically what he's saying,
right? Or well, he's not even saying like make the best of it, because that argument comes later. Okay. He's saying this is fine. He's that burning that dog in that burning meme, that burning house meme. Right? Right. He's like, this is fine, right?
And so we don't have to do anything.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything. Yeah. And he's specifically saying because if we try, we might get stomped even harder.
Yeah, and if we don't do anything, then God might even make this prison nicer or let us back into heaven even.
Right, eventually.
Yeah, I like that. That's what I would agree. I'd vote for that. Do nothing. Sit down here on our asses. Right, yeah.
Because like Milton is framing him as like, ignoble ease and peaceful sloth, right? Like, and his words are worthless. And are they just saying he's a coward, or like compared to Moloch? He's like, let's fight until we die, and even if we don't die, but Belial's like, no, we like it could be even worse than this. This isn't like we literally built pandemonium, and we're sitting here at a council meeting, and like we're not chained to that lake anymore. I think I think we're being a little bit dramatic here. Okay.
Yeah. You had me at sloth. I'm good. Let's do that.
Yeah. Once Satan builds those those 9 circles, he'll be over there. Right? Yeah. But yeah, so then we get a third speaker. We get Mammon. Remember, folks, Mammon is all about gold and wealth, right? He led the mining expedition to build pandemonium. And he says the only way they're going to win back their places in heaven is if they dethrone God. And that's impossible. And then he sort of like echoes Belial's argument. He's like, suppose he forgives us all, maybe even lets us back into heaven, and then we'll have to bow and scrape to him and sing hymns to him to celebrate his throne with warbled hymns, and to his godhead sing forced hallelujahs. He says, no, both of these are unacceptable, right? So, fighting is a death sentence, and apologizing and bowing and scraping in shame, that's also unacceptable.
Groveling,
right? Groveling, no, right?
Yeah.
So he says, at least in hell now, we're free. And hell is full of all these precious metals and stones, enough to build more cities and more palaces. We can make a place for ourselves down here. And the suffering is going to toughen us up and make us even more angelic than the angels because we're so badass.
We're going to get our own personal palaces, our personal pan palaces.
Right. And they'll all be as tiny as this pandemonium.
Tiny as we want.
Yeah. It's like even everyone's amazed. They're like, even smaller than this?
Even smaller than this, my boy.
Even smaller. Think of less than 2 bananas.
And all you have to do is to read as many books as you can. My advice to you is to pick shorter books. I figured that out real early in my education.
That's a little bit devious, Keenan. I don't know.
Flip to the end of the book. You see how many pages are there. Choose that.
Right. Sometimes you don't even read it. You just say you read it.
I never did that.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I know. I felt like a sucker once my friends started telling me that. Just tell your parents you read the book. They're not going to read it. They're shitty kids' books.
They're not going to read shit to do.
Hop on Pop. You hop on Pop.
Yeah. Pop's got work in Daddy's room. Drinking Daddy's candy. Yeah. So he says like, no, we can't do those, right? And he's like, so we can make hell like a really nice place, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And he says all things invite to peaceful counsels and the settled state of order. How in safety best we may compose our present evils with regard of what we are and where, dismissing quite all thoughts of war. You have what I advise, right? So he's like, that's my advice. We stay here, but we make the best of it, right? Okay, so we heard Moloch. We heard Belial, and now we heard Mammon. Mm-hmm. So what do we think? What are we thinking in the back? What are we thinking of Mammon's speech?
So Mammon paints an interesting picture of like having to go up and sing hymns and stuff. I do not want to end up singing hymns.
No. If that's the price to get back into heaven, we gotta. It's like glory, glory. No.
Yeah. I know you're like, well, you got to speed this up a little bit. No, that song goes on forever.
Oh yeah. It's all day. And depending on what angel you are, is like if you're a cherubim, it's fine, right? But if you're a seraphim around the throne of God, that is your job. That is what you do. All the time.
Yeah, so I don't want that to happen. So Mammon is making a good point there. And we get our own personal pan palaces, and that's really great. Yeah. But I still think I'm on to Belial's of let's just not do anything. Yeah.
Let's just not do anything. Okay.
Yeah, I like the not doing anything.
Interesting. I might be going more towards Mammon just because like not doing anything, but like also, like trying to make this house a home, right? Mm-hmm. This hell house, right?
To Sims it up, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? This is we got a new Civilization 6 board here, right? Let's see where we can go, right? But yeah, so he makes some fair points. Hell is not without its materials and its resources, right? Mm-hmm. I think he wants another montage. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hell's a fixer-upper, right? They'll get all the demons working together, making it work. This is 80s music plays, right?
Hell's a fixer-upper, we all working together, making it work as 80s music plays. We pushing some dirt, because everything's dirt down here.
Except for the magma, no, it's actually lava. And for lunch we can have anything except for bananas.
We got gold. What else? We got gems. What else? We got gold again. What else? We got gold. Getting tired of gold and gems and gold and gems. Yeah.
You can't eat gems. Well, you can try, but it's really painful.
Believe me, Moloch tried to eat gems.
And that's when he turns to the camera and he smiles and all his teeth are broken. And there's like two demons in overalls and they're like painting a wall and one accidentally gets paint on the other and they laugh and then they start having a paint fight, right? But then we pan out and we see Mammon in a hard hat, right? And he's got his hands on his hips and he shakes his head. But then right before cutting away, he gets a face full of paint too.
Oh, does his reaction, does he like it or is he real?
It cuts away before we even react. Yeah. But we hope, the little 80s kids that we are, that he takes the stick out of his butt and he starts having fun.
Right.
But yeah.
That's if you can't have fun down in hell.
No. What are you even doing there? Yeah. But yeah, so this actually seems to be the most...
If you don't like hell, go back to where you came from. That's my advice.
Oh, of course, those people would be down here. It's like, go back to where you came from. And like all the demons are like, we're trying
to.
That's what we want. Yeah. But okay, so yeah, this proposal seems to be the most favored option, right? All the demons applaud as Mammon sits down, but almost immediately Beelzebub stands up and everyone falls silent because he's doing that thing. He has that look. You know how some people can like quiet the crowd with like just a look. Fellow teachers, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's how you manage your classrooms. So he stands up and everyone is silent.
Does he flick the lights on and off, or he's so good at him to get to that point?
Scratches the chalkboard. Right. Or he just looks and he's like, and he starts like with the elementary students, he starts 1, 2, 3. Thank you. No, he doesn't do that. Right? No, but he's got this like presence about him, and everyone's like, oh, right, and everyone's like, oh, it's Beelzebub. Shut up, it's Beelzebub, right? So he addresses them all. He says, thrones and imperial powers, right? Offspring of heaven. Interesting, both he and Satan continually address them by like their ranks, like thrones, cherubim, seraphim, dominions, right? Yeah. And he says, offspring of heaven, ethereal virtues, or these titles now must we renounce and changing style be called princes of hell, for so the popular vote inclines. So he's digging at this opt for not doing anything. Right? He reminds them that this place is a prison, not a retreat. And if God wanted, he could extend his empire over hell as well, quote, and with iron scepter rule us here, as with his golden those in heaven. And he says, why are they even talking about peace and war? They have chosen war and were defeated, and the only thing they can do now is try to continue messing with God's plans. And then he tells them of a new place, if the prophecies in heaven are correct, and a new creature called man, who is either already created or about to be created. Beelzebub says that they should be focusing on who these new creatures are, what they're made of, what powers they have, and he says maybe they can destroy or enslave them to get back at God, or even better, win them over to their side. And that would be like the deepest cut to God, right? Seeing his children join the demons literally and figuratively in hell, right? And he ends by saying, advise if this be worth attempting, or to sit in darkness here, hatching vain empires. So again, that jab at like all this, you're just sitting here making castles in the air. Right?
You're sitting here with your sloth, with your gluttony, with your pride. What's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
No, but when he introduces the idea of this new creature who we know is going to be man, right? Is that in does it say such, or do we just sort of
well, the argument says man,
right? That's what I was wondering. That says that,
but like are you saying like in the text? Hang on.
I don't think he does, but anyways, we're supposed to know that this is man and Adam, etc., because we're smart people, right? But then what I get distracted by,
I think he's talking about us. I think that new creature is us.
Yeah, that's so like the rock band that comes to town, like, right? It's like, so you ready to rock Burbank? And you go, that's us, we're Burbank.
We were mentioned.
But so man is either created or about to be created, and then I'm trying to do the Genesis math of they've been traveling through 9 days, right? Mm-hmm. But then man was created on which day, and I'm trying to do all this math.
7th day? No,
the 7th day he rested.
Right.
Right. So I'm trying to do all that math, and that's I don't think that's the point, but that's where my mind goes.
Yeah. So are we to take that like but like now you've got me all hung up on this math.
Yeah. So
did they just literally just get kicked out of heaven and then God creates man? Like he turns around, he just like.
So
well, that's that.
Which would if that could have happened depending on how this goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait. So they've been flying through space for 9 days.
For 9 days, yeah.
So 9 days ago they got thrown out. They fell. Mm-hmm. So then maybe as early as 8 days ago, God creates maybe not man, but maybe creates the sun or creates light or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that first 7 days. Where does that land within these 9 days? That's where I'm having trouble.
I can feel the ghost of Milton. He's like, this is so unimportant.
Well, then why do you say 9 days?
I don't know. Because he's trying to say that they fell for a really long time. Right? It's like 9 days, the span of day. It's
longer than the 6 days in which God created everything.
Oh, yeah. It's specifically longer than it took to create the earth is how long they fell. Ah, okay.
Much longer, yeah.
Oh, that would make sense, though.
Yeah?
No. Because up in heaven, like we're going to see in like, it was like book 3 or book 4, right? We get like a little flashback, Satan and the angels up in heaven, or Lucifer, yeah. And he's like, I don't know about this Jesus guy, and I don't know about like all these plans that God has. So plans were not like put into motion yet at that time.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
So because God made this decree and he names Jesus, his son, and I think he also when we get to the book I'll remember, but like I think he also announces that he's gonna make earth and he's gonna make man, and that's when like Satan kind of sidles up to some of the other angels. It's like, hey, this is I don't like this.
Oh, right, that would make sense, right? Yeah, and then like. I'm just fascinated by this Miltonian idea of like what the cosmos are like and what space is like.
Yeah.
And again, like I was talking about in the last minute, heaven and hell existing in this realm outside of Earth, because Earth hasn't been created yet.
Right.
So, if God is powerful enough in my conception of God to create on the first day light.
Yes.
And that day could be within the days that Satan is, falling towards hell.
Oh, right, because there's no measurement until light is created, is what you're saying.
Well, sure, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, right.
So the days don't have to match, but my little human brain wants them to match somehow.
Yeah. We want to put things together. We want to,
right.
But no, you're absolutely right. And we're going to get a lot of that kind of like the swirling chaos of this place in this book, right?
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating and a little bit heretical, I think.
Sure.
Because he's, the idea was that God created, the earth out of nothing, right? Ex nihilo, right? But he's saying that like if I'm reading this correctly, and folks, you can write in and let me know if I'm not understanding this fully, but it sounds like he disrupted chaos, which is a kingdom, and chaos, the character, and chaos, the kingdom, existed already,
right?
And he like disrupted it by creating order and light and, the world and everything like that. And that made chaos angry.
Yeah.
And so it's not like God was just all by himself and he said, let's create the universe, let's create, light and the world and man. It's like he's sitting there with chaos, apparently. And he's like, hey, I'm going to take some of your chaos. I'm going to borrow it and I'm going to make something.
Right.
And chaos is like, no, don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, like he's there with his angels and all of that who are helping him do this, I suppose. Like
right. Yeah. It's interesting. But yeah, so we find out, and so I'm gonna have to remind me to look for if they actually announce that like a new world is going to be created once we get to that book, because if that is the case, then both Satan and now Beelzebub have like revealed this, have dropped this bomb as if it's like the first time they've said it.
Okay.
But if they were all up there, like having an audience in heaven and God makes this announcement, it's like, we're going to create a new world and a new creature.
And then that's what spurs them to go, well, that's no good. That's not good for us. Because now they're making a new creature who's above us when we are the angels. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like now he's like, and did you know? Like we've heard tell of this new, and it's like all of them. It's like, yes, we know.
That's kind of why we did this.
That's why we're down here. But yeah, so I'll have to see like how it is announced in heaven, if
cool, right?
But yeah, so hatching vain empires. That's what he said, right? So he's making a dig at them. And then we find out. So that's Beelzebub's proposal. Right. But then we find out that this proposal was actually Satan's idea, and he's using Beelzebub as a mouthpiece. They're sort of like working together on this thing. Right. So Beelzebub is less of a like this kind of like toady. He's actually like working close with Satan. Like they got this like tag team thing going on. And the plan works. It's a unanimous vote. And so again, like he quiets them all down. Right. And he says, you have made the right choice. But first, whom shall we send in search of this new world? Whom shall we find sufficient? Who shall tempt with wandering feet the dark, unbottomed infinite abyss, and through the palpable obscure find out his uncouth way, or spread his airy flight upborne with indefatigable wings? Indefatigable or indefatigable?
I like fatigable, but it's probably wrong.
Tireless wings over the vast abrupt ere he arrive the happy isle. What strength, what art can then suffice, or what evasion bear him safe through the strict sentries and stations thick of angels watching round. I love this. He's like, who could we possibly send? They would have to be the strongest, bravest angel, the most handsome, the best singer, best dressed, smells nice. And he looks over and Satan's like making emotions, like tone it. But that's what he's doing. He's literally, like by Satan's kind of like, planning, he's like building it as like, oh, who shall we send, right?
Right.
And he's making this voyage seem like really, really scary, right? Which it is. It's chaos, but yeah. Mm-hmm. And so like everyone falls silent, right? And Milton says that you can see in all of their faces, like they're all kind of like thinking about it, but they're all too afraid to, volunteer to make the journey. Mm-hmm. But of course, Satan stands up and he's like, friends, angels, countrymen. No. But he's like, this is a long and dangerous journey. You're all so brave for even thinking of doing it. And I don't know how he actually knows this, but like he now describes what's coming up just to like kind of like further scare and impress them, right? He's like, long is the way and hard that out of hell leads up to light. Our prison strong, this huge convex of fire, outrageous to devour, immures us round ninefold, and gates of burning adamant barred over us prohibit all egress. These past, if any pass, the void profound of unessential night receives him next, wide gaping, and with utter loss of being threatens him, plunged into that abortive gulf. It was like, this is pretty impressive, huh?
How does he know all that? He's read the book.
That's exactly right. But actually, I didn't read it. I said I read it. No. But yeah, so after that, he's like, but don't worry, because I'm going to make this sacrifice for you all. I'm going to go out there into the midst of chaos, and I'm going to brave the tempest, and I'll find my way to this new land, and I'll set it up as our new home. And I'm going to do it alone, right? Mm-hmm. That's the last thing he says. He gets up before anyone can reply because he knows that these guys are all backbiters and coattail riders, and he knows that now they're all going to like pretend to want to go with him. It's like, oh, I'll go with you. You have my axe and my bow.
And my children that I'm eating.
And my...
She'll give you half of my children.
Moloch, no. Not even your children. Oh, God. They're my personal children. No. But then... like, even if they get turned down, they're going to look just as brave as he did, right? Simply by offering to go. So he's like, no, we're not going to do that, right? So, Keenan, this whole council was sort of a farce, right? Satan had this idea to go to Earth the whole time. Mm-hmm. But from this book, we can see that he's more than a hot-headed rebel. He's a statesman. He's a politician, right? He got everyone together for this council, but he's also the father of lies and deception. He lets them all speak. And then he and Beelzebub offer up this new proposal in such a way as to make Satan look really, really good.
Yeah, I was wondering about that when in the argument they're saying we're going to have this council. And I was wondering if that's part of Milton, again, attacking the idea of monarchy and of like absolute rule. And, in America, we have this idea that like, that the English didn't know what democracy was, and they didn't, which is not true. They had a parliament and they had elected people, and so anyways, like, but I was wondering if this was all like, oh yeah, again, like Satan is great. Satan is more democratic, or at least more Republican than the monarchy. But then it turns out that no, it's all a farce anyways, and he's using the idea of representational government, if you will, and everyone having this straw vote and everyone having a voice, and he's using it against them.
Right, exactly. So he tricks them good. I think they deserve each other, Keenan. I think they, like him and all the devils. But then also, okay, let's not go past the fact that even though he tricked them, like what he's setting out to do is really dangerous. And all of them, including Satan, are afraid to undertake this voyage. So he's doing some boasting, right? He's doing some manipulation, but he is still willing to attempt something none of them have attempted. None of them really know what the realm of chaos is like, I guess, except Satan, because he just described all of it.
Yeah, none of them have read the book.
Yeah, Satan. Yeah. He could be like completely destroyed or lost forever in space, right? None of them know. And for all that talk about like, oh, there's nothing worse than hell, they have no idea what's out there. And you see these demons like already starting to like exhibit these less angelic attributes, because even though they don't like hell, comfortable misery is more preferred than the unknown.
Right. That's exactly how I would think at the edge of the circle. I'd say, yeah, I'd rather just be here than do anything.
Right. I'm aware that I'm suffering. At least I know what's coming up. More suffering.
Yeah, God, and of the same suffering. God hasn't like said like on this day it'll get smaller or something. You'll have less land for yourself and fewer pizzas or anything. Like that.
Yeah. It's just like I could not get used to it, but like it's going to become predictable.
Right.
Yeah. And so Satan makes this decree. He's gonna brave the voyage alone. And so everyone's like, "Yay, Satan, we love you!" And they all applaud him. And here Milton dips in to make a comment about. And this is actually going with what you were just saying, Keenan. He dips in to make a comment about how these devils are actually better at discourse than humans. Like humans who fight and kill each other. At least these devils are united, and that makes us humans double cursed, because not only do we have devils as our enemies, but also other humans.
Yeah, other Englishmen.
Other Englishmen, right? Yeah. Interesting little commentary there by Milton, right? Like, but he's not pro Satan. He's just saying that Satan got the trains running on time.
Do you know that Mussolini didn't get the trains running on time?
Now that I know that, I mean, I hated him already.
Right. But did you know that? Why did they start saying that? Whose idea was it to just make up this thing that he was good at this? Well,
Well,
why go out of your way to say something nice about Mussolini to make a point?
But I guess that's the lie that an autocracy tells you, right? A dictatorship is like, it's going to be hard, but everything's going to be in order.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I got to look into
Everything's going to work like a clock.
I always thought that saying was from non-adherence to Mussolinism, so I wonder. But yeah, why do we say that? Don't say that.
I think that's like the general like vibe of a dictatorship, even though it's not true. Because you see actual real life dictatorships, folks, and everything's like falling apart.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Milton writes, "The Stygian council thus dissolved, and forth in order came the grand infernal peers, midst came their mighty paramount, and seemed alone the antagonist of heaven, nor less than hell's dread emperor with pomp supreme and godlike imitated state, him round a globe of fiery seraphim enclosed, with bright emblazonry and horrent arms." So they exit this council with all this like pomp and circumstance. Like God, Satan is now surrounded by seraphim. I guess, evil seraphim. And then he also sends 4 cherubim to fly to the 4 corners, east, west, north, south, with trumpets announcing Satan's decree.
Yeah, but to who?
Okay.
Aren't they all in pandemonium?
This is a question that is not answered in the text. Folks, help us out. In the great council of hell, is it all the demons? That's what pandemonium means.
Yeah, pandemonium in there.
Or is it like just the important ones of state, like, Moloch and Mammon and Beelzebub and Satan? Because it sounds like they came out of this council and everyone's like, "Oh, what were the leaders talking about in there?" And, the trumpets are blasting. It's like, hear ye, Satan has decided he's going to go to earth. And everyone's like, "Whoa, that's so cool." So did they not hear in there?
That doesn't jive with what I understood was happening, but
yeah. So, in any case, whether like maybe they're all just like waiting outside. I don't know.
There's nothing for them there's no TV, there's no hula hoops.
Hey. Actually, we're going to get right to that right now, actually.
Okay, great.
Because here's where Milton gets a little bit silly. So before they ended the council, I didn't read this part, but Satan tells them to find ways to pass the time and distract themselves from eternal hellfire until he gets back. And they do. And this is what they do, Keenan. They set up an Olympic Games. They have strength competitions. They have war reenactments, like play war, right? That's the rowdier ones. And then the quieter, more angelic ones, they sit around playing music. So I guess they still have their harps.
They clutched to those as they were falling for 9 days.
It was like, "Oh no, get the harp. It's like sword or it's like, "Oh, I left my sword up there." It's like, "Well, I left my harp up there." It's like, "Oh, no." And then one lucky bastard, he's got both of them. Like, "I'm not sharing."
No, it's my personal harp.
It's my. See how small it is? All right. It's just a kazoo. No, it's a harp. It's a personal harp. Yeah. But yeah, so these the quieter, like kind of more angelic ones, they sit around playing music, and they sing about their own heroic deeds and the tragedy of their fall. And Milton says, even though they're fallen angels, they're still angels. So the music is actually like really beautiful enough to temporarily distract anyone who's listening. Right? And then another group of angels, they sit around and they have philosophical discussions about good and evil and free will and fate. And they just kind of get like lost in these deep discussions, right? As Milton puts it, and found no end in wandering mazes lost. And that's why I think podcasts are an invention of hell. Like one of these angels was like, "Dude, this is so deep. We have to record this.
This needs to be a show."
Yeah. They're just just like the idea of fallen angels, right? Just sitting around being like, what is evil? You know what I mean?
Are we evil?
It's like, are we the bad guys? But no, like it's just this. It's this weird. I think this was completely intentional. I think Milton was trying to make this slightly comedic with these angels being like so philosophic about like free will and destiny and predestination and good and evil. What is that? Who can really say what evil is, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, it's like, what do you think, Aziraphale? And he's like, ah. Had to think of an angel name, and you couldn't think of any other angel name, Lester. It's from Good Omens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he's like actually the good angel, so I messed up. Whatever. But yeah, so and then we got like another group that decides to like go on this like expedition. They decide to explore hell, right? And they discover, guess what? The rivers of Hades feeding into that lake that they were trapped in, right? So we got Styx, the river of hate. Acheron and Cocytus, the rivers of woe and despair. We got Phlegethon, the river of fire, and Lethe, river of forgetfulness.
What was that last one?
Phlegethon, river of fire. But yeah, and then beyond this lake is a frozen continent with snow and hail and icy winds, right? Okay, so like this is getting a little bit, reminding me a little bit of Dante right here, right?
Yeah, I guess the difference between, I suppose so. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I guess the difference here between Hades and Dante's vision and what Milton is trying to do again with this cosmological hell is in Hades you can walk out of Hades and like they tell you don't look back. Like you can see the border between Hades and the land of the living, and that's how Dante's is as well. Right? There's an entry and an exit.
Right, and Hades. The guy Hades actually has like one of those like systems where like you can't find his home unless he wants you to find it, right?
Right, but there is
it's a place
border.
Like you can travel to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, where here you can, like a planet, at some point fly high enough that you're no longer in hell.
Yes. Right, and like a planet, you can like traverse the globe and come to like this like Arctic place.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what's happened. Is like everything is on fire except this like little continent, which is like completely like icy and stormy with wind and snow and everything like that.
And they don't want to move over there. They prefer the heat, I guess.
Okay, well, get this, right? This is what they do. So like these angels spend their time going from the extreme hot. And they're like, ow, 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 it's too hot.
Penal fire.
And then when they can't bear it any longer, they fly over to the extreme cold and they're like, this is... And then when they can't bear that any longer, they go back to the other side.
I see. Penal fire, penal ice, penal fire, penal ice.
Yeah, exactly, right? And every single time they cross, they try to like drink from the river of forgetfulness to forget their pain, right? But the river is guarded by, guess who? Medusa. And the Gorgons. So again, right? Like Dante used them and Milton's using them too, right?
This is where I have trouble. So in the previous book, he has explained that basically any god of mythology is one of these angels or, who's going to be a demon. And now we're saying that, yes, all that, but then also in hell, there are these creatures that have already lived there before the fall.
It's weird. It's like...
And they're Medusa, and they're the Gorgons.
There's Medusa, there's the Gorgons,
right.
there's just Hydra
living down here,
Yeah, right. Well, I think what I'm seeing visually, like if this were like an animated story, like a really freaky animated story, is them falling, and as they're falling, hell is kind of like growing and unfolding like a flower, right? So it just kind of like, and then by the time, bam, they hit the lake, it's all like everything is like Medusa has sprouted up out of the material of hell,
like a pop-up book, yeah.
Exactly.
It
right?
is, what is the word for that in gaming? It is procedurally generated.
There we go,
as
right?
Coming down, it's forming, yeah.
Right, it's all just a bunch of ones and zeros until, yeah. And that's the, the 9 days is the loading time.
Yeah, he had a really slow computer.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so Medusa's here, right? And we're going to get like also in this book, we're going to find somebody that Satan refers to as hellborn, right? So there are things that are born in hell, right? But yeah, so they can't get to Lethe and drink and forget their pain. So they have to just keep exploring hell. And Milton describes it. He says, a universe of death, which God by curse created, evil for evil, only good, where all life dies, death lives, and nature breeds. Perverse, all monstrous, all prodigious things, abominable, inutterable, and worse than fables, yet have feigned or fear conceived. right? Gorgons and hydras and chimeras dire, right? So he's saying, like, I think correct me if I'm wrong, he's alluding to, it's like that's where the idea for all these monsters came from. Like, because he says, worse than fables yet have feigned or fear conceived.
So this is where the ideas of monsters get into the zeitgeist, is from hell itself.
Right. So there are actually like hydras and chimeras and gorgons in hell.
I like that.
Yeah. Right. So
anything you can invent, anything that writers on Earth can make as a monster, a boogie monster, it already exists in hell.
Right. It existed before, and it just kind of like floated into your mind.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really cool idea. Meanwhile, Satan has already left on his journey. He's flying really fast on the way to the gates of hell. Milton wants us to know that his flying is like really, really cool. Like, he coasts the left side of the river, then the right, and sometimes he like skims the water, right, with the tip of his wing, right? He does a couple of barrel rolls, you know. He's just showing up to nobody. But he sees his reflection. And he's like, yeah,
this is pod racing.
Oh, it works because he's Anakin. Right? He's Hayden Christensen.
Right.
But yeah, so, and then finally he reaches the gates and he sees that they are guarded by two new characters, right? And it says, before the gates there sat on either side a formidable shape. The one seemed woman to the waist and fair, but ended foul in many a scaly fold, voluminous and vast, a serpent armed with mortal sting. About her middle round a cry of hellhounds never ceasing barked, with wide Cerberian mouths, full loud, and rung a hideous peal. Yet, when they list, would creep, if aught disturbed their noise, into her womb and kennel there. Yet there still barked and howled within unseen. Yeah. It's going to get pretty gross from here, folks.
What? With
just a warning.
Puppies going back into the womb and you could still hear them crying, and they've got... what kind of mouths?
Cerberian. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
What's so creepy about having 3-headed dogs crawl back up into you? And
right? Haven't we all had? Yeah. But no. And it gets even worse once we find out who this is.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But Satan focuses on the other guard. And Milton says, the other shape, if shape it might be called, that shape had none distinguishable in member, joint, or limb, or substance might be called that shadow seemed, for each seemed either. Black it stood as night, fierce as 10 furies, terrible as hell, and shook a dreadful dart. What seemed his head, the likeness of a kingly crown, had on. So we got these two guards, one whose shape is half beautiful, half ugly, and the other who has no shape. But he wears a crown.
So it's his birthday, I guess, at Burger King.
I guess. And he's getting his own personal Whopper. Right? Oh, yeah, this guy loves Burger King, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
So Satan strides up, and he says, whence and what art thou, execrable shape? Thou darest, though grim and terrible, advance thy miscreated front to thwart my way to yonder gates? Through them I mean to pass, that be assured, without leave asked of thee. Retire, or taste thy folly, and learn by proof, hell-born, not to be contented with spirits of heaven. So, interesting, he calls this thing hell-born, and he differentiates himself as a spirit of heaven.
So is this an anti-colonialist reading or a pro-colonialist reading?
I don't know.
Because this is Satan coming down as like, oh, these natives, like I'm so, like, who are they to tell me which lands I'm able to go onto? I'm an Englishman, right? I'm an English Satan, yeah. And so, yeah, are we supposed to think that that's pretty cool of him, or supposed to think that's pretty bad of him?
Or, I mean, this guy's wearing a crown, so is he...
You know, like when in the early days when they were when the English settlers were dealing with natives, they would often try to put onto the natives ideas of like princes and kings and dukes and that kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
So they would sometimes call them Prince what's or treat Pocahontas as a princess, and they would
right.
And then so they tried to do that, which is just like, again, completely incompatible with the idea that most of the native tribes thought of themselves as, right?
Right. It doesn't. We don't have that kind of like operating system. We don't have that hierarchy.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So then that became like, so at first it was like, okay, let's treat them that way and let's think about that. But then also then it became like, they don't act like princes at all. Like, why are, that's their problem, is that like, oh, they're great princes of these lands, but they don't act royally. And so like, oh, they're so much lesser. But yeah.
These titles we just made up for them, they're not fitting those titles.
Right. What's wrong with these people? Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't they act like the people that we think they are? Yeah. Or that we tell them that they are.
Or that they tell them they are.
Yeah, because they're not, yeah. But yeah, so this shadow shape answers Satan. It says, "To whom the goblin full of wrath replied, Art thou that traitor angel? Art thou he who first broke peace in heaven and faith, till then unbroken, and in proud rebellious arms drew after him the third part of heaven's sons, conjured against the highest, for which both thou and they, outcast from God, are here condemned, to waste eternal days in woe and pain? And reckonest thou thyself with spirits of heaven, hell doomed, and breathest defiance here and scorn, where I reign king, and to enrage thee more, thy king and lord? Back to thy punishment, false fugitive, and to thy speed add wings, lest with a whip of scorpions I pursue thy lingering, or with one stroke of this dart strange horror seize thee, and pangs unfelt before." So he throws it back at him, right? Satan calls him hellborn, and he calls him hell doomed.
Yeah, which is worse, yeah.
Yeah, right? And he says that he's the king of this place. But actually, yeah, this is the only time I've heard of this character, we haven't said his name yet, having a whip of scorpions. You know? And actually, okay, Keenan, how does that, like, logistically, how does that work?
A whip made of scorpions?
A whip of scorpions.
But wait a second, doesn't he also have a scorpion tail, or have I misunderstood that?
No.
Oh.
He has a dreadful dart, which artist depictions, it looks like he has like a spear.
Oh, okay. Well, I've misunderstood this. So yeah, yes.
So
he has a
spear
whip made of scorpions.
That is what, unless this is like descriptive, like is this a metaphor? Is this like a whip with like a lot of like little hooks on it?
I don't think we're big on metaphors in this story, are we? I think everything that we say is literally
yeah. There literally was Medusa and Hydra down there, exactly, yeah. But no, like I just would think that a whip of scorpions wouldn't be that effective. Am I wrong?
Well, because
it sounds like the coolest whip in the world. It sounds like the most painful thing.
In order for the scorpions to form a whip, they'd probably have to hold on to each other by the tail. And by the claws.
Those are the two parts of a scorpion that you don't want to get hit with.
Right.
But if those are occupied, like joining them all together.
So essentially you just have one tail at the end. Again.
Yeah. Otherwise, like, and you're just being hit by a bunch of like scorpion torsos.
Of all the things on a scorpion, the thing I'm least afraid of is the back of it touching me.
Exactly, right? You're just like, ow. Right?
Yeah, I'm scared of its tail, its claws, its mouth, and its little legs.
Or, okay, Keenan, is it a regular whip? Like with all the little thongs on it, with all the little, like a cat of nine tails, right? Because that's what, like, he's calling Satan like a prisoner, a slave, right? So it'd be one of those like torturous whips, right?
All right, made of scorpions.
Or is it like made of rope or leather with scorpions at the end?
With their little claws or with their little tails? Yeah. I think this matters.
Well, you tie it in the middle. You tie it like a lifeline. So all these little scorpions are like, bungee jumping.
All right, so they have their claws out and they have their tails out.
Yeah, claws out, tails out. And it's just like it's like the worst carnival ride ever. This whip. And they just and they land on Satan's face and they sting him and they pinch him
and they pinch him and they make fun of him a little bit.
Yeah, right, of course. Right.
Like, you look like a bitch, and they just start to come back at it every time he gets close to them.
Right. Before he pulls the whip away, right?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so he has that, and he has this this dart, this spear, which it says if he sticks you with it, like strange horror seize thee and pangs unfelt before, which sounds like, by not describing it, it actually makes it sound scarier. It's like what are you gonna feel when he hits you with that?
Yeah, I thought it was just his actual scorpion tail.
No. So Satan's not going to take this, right? So they both square up, and that's when our first guard, this snake lady, intervenes, and she says, "O Father, what intends thy hand," she cried, "against thy only son? What fury, O son, possesses thee to bend that mortal dart against thy father's head?" And Satan is like, "Hang on. Why do you call me father?" And this is when she explains that she is sin, and she was born in heaven out of Satan's head, right? Out of thy head I sprung. And when she was first conceived, she was beautiful, and she attracted many angels, including Satan, who got with her, like knew her biblically, as they say. And then after the fall, she is changed into this like hideous form, and God sets her to guard the gates of hell, gives her the keys to the gates. But she's pregnant with Satan's child, and she gives birth to death. And that's this horrible shape sitting across from her with the whip of scorpions and the crown on his head, right? And then he, Death, gets with her and rapes her, and she gives birth to these hellhounds who now like constantly crawl in and out of her womb. So yeah, let's just focus on the metaphor, okay? Like Satan conceives sin, and then sin and Satan conceive death. It's a really good metaphor. I don't think we needed that extra stuff, Milton.
So it is, how does it go? Oh, I always forget it. Fear not. Fear leads to hate. No, fear leads to anger.
Yes.
Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering, or some version of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know the order. I guess I should look it up.
And are you going to throw incest in there somewhere? Is that the end? And suffering leads to sweet, sweet incest.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. There we go.
Okay. I hope you're right, because I'm not going to open any tabs and look. For the Star Wars minute.
When I Googled that quote, I'll have to show you. Well, this will be for after the show. This image that I got here. Okay. Anyways, so so there is this hierarchy, I suppose, but I don't quite follow because they all sound bad.
Well, okay. So Satan is sin's lover and father, and then Death is Satan's grandson and son.
Right.
Because he made it with sin.
All right.
Yeah.
There's got to be just an easier way to say that.
There's got to be. Yeah. I mean, like because sin popped out of Satan's head, like literally, like an idea, right?
That I understand.
Yeah. While he was in heaven, and she looked beautiful.
I don't understand.
Well, no, like, of course, he would conceive of sin in heaven. It would lead him to rebel. Like she's like the personification of a bad idea of sin, right?
Yeah, but then she only gets to conceive. She only gets to give birth to these to who? To Death.
She gives birth to Death because she got with Satan. Yes.
So Death only exists after that, I suppose, and only after the war in heaven, the battle in heaven.
Right. So, because Death comes from us sinning. Death comes from man being, eating the apple.
But no, it comes from Satan in heaven. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Why does that happen?
Well, no, so this is like the overarching metaphor, like, is what I'm saying. Like, I think what Milton's saying is with these characters, with these personified versions, is Satan begat sin,
right?
And then sin plus Satan equals death, because Satan got man to sin, and that created death.
But that hasn't happened yet,
right?
That's where I'm having trouble. We're going to get that to happen.
No, that hasn't happened yet.
It's a very famous story.
Yes. Keenan, don't spoil it. We're on book 2.
Okay. All right. That's where I'm confused. Again, I'm like with the dates and when is all this happening, and I'm confused.
Right. No. I think this is like metaphorically, sin and death existed before, like poetically. This is actually a really cool way to, not the incest part. You're making me defend this
I am not
part.
asking you to defend any of it.
No, I'm saying I really like the idea that by himself, Satan creates sin.
Okay.
And then Satan plus sin, right, equals death.
Right.
Because Satan goes down to the Garden of Eden,
right,
and he is the one who gets Eve to sin. Right. So Satan plus sin creates death.
Yeah, now human beings can die and all that.
Yeah, right. So that's the metaphor. But what Milton is saying is like, oh, actually, they're here guarding the gates of hell too, right? Like they're characters.
Okay. I'm saying it's a little weird in the timeline to me, and that they were cast out of heaven after the battle in heaven as well, and then got ahead to this gate, and God gave them these plans. Like this is
no. They fell. No. Death was never in heaven.
Death was born in hell.
He was born in hell.
Right. Okay.
Right? Because Satan calls him hellborn, right?
Yeah.
But sin fell with all the other angels.
Right.
And God was like, here, you're going to be at this gate.
Right.
With these keys.
And not at the council, I guess.
And not at the council, right?
Okay, right.
Which also I know about because I'm God.
Right. He must. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But and then so she's waiting around, and Milton says that she was the only guard for a while while she was pregnant, and then she gives birth to Death, and then Death gets with her.
Right.
And that creates these weird little hellhounds, which there is not a metaphor for anything.
But but they're good boys.
Yeah, they like their mama. I don't know. No. Yeah, they're just a little bit a little rowdy, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, they're hellhounds.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. Anyway.
Anyways,
right? So Satan's like, I have a daughter and a wife and a son / grandson.
Right.
And he's like, kids, don't worry. I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to go find that new world. And he says, and bring ye to the place where thou and death shall dwell at ease, and up and down unseen wing silently, and up and down unseen wing. Wait, and up and down. Where's the verb? Oh, wing is the verb. Okay. And up and down unseen wing silently the buxom air, embalmed with odors. There ye shall be fed and filled immeasurably. All things shall be your prey. And both of them are like, that is a pretty sweet deal. And Sin is like, God put me here and gave me the keys to this gate, but, oh yeah, I hate him. And you're my father / husband, so I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah.
And so she takes the keys and she opens the gates, which Milton says none but her could open, but not even she could close once they're open, right?
So Satan, he is pretty empowered by the idea that he has these children.
Yeah.
And he says, in regards to my behavior, I could only plead insanity. Because ever since my children were born, the moment I looked at them, I was crazy about them. Once I held them, I was hooked. I'm addicted to your children, sir. I'm addicted to my children, sir. I love them with all my heart. And the idea of someone telling me I can't be with them, I can't see them every day. It's like someone saying I can't have air. I can't live without air, and I can't live without them.
And then Moloch's like, did somebody say children? Oh, they're fully grown. Never mind.
Never mind.
They won't even fit inside my furnace belly. Oh.
So Satan and Daniel Hilliard from Mrs. Doubtfire are the same person.
Are the same person. The whole time.
Right. He's Daniel Hilliard as evil as Satan.
Yes.
Lucifer Morningstar.
Yes, exactly. We've come all this way. Right? We knew we were going to cover Paradise Lost. That's what all the Mrs. Doubtfire references.
Absolutely.
Right. Doubtfire. Yes. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So the gates are open and Satan looks out into the abyss, pondering his voyage. And Milton describes it as this like confusion of deafening noise and storms and earth, fire, wind, water, hot, cold, dry, wet. It's like a stormy sky, but also like a stormy sea at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And after some hesitation, he dives in and he's making his way and he's swimming and then flying and then climbing and then running and like it's another like montage scene, I imagine, right? And there's actually an illustration by DeRay of Satan like going through chaos, and I sent it to Keenan before this recording, and he's like clinging to a rock and we don't see his face, but it really looks like he's like Rocky down for the count, right? Trying to get back up. And so it's like, it's like Eye of the Tiger or it's gonna fly now. There you go. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, well, yeah. The that Rocky thing that we remember on the stairs only works because we see Rocky going up those stairs before, and he can't make it up the stairs because he's too weak.
Right.
Yeah. So this looks like that first time up the stairs.
Right. This is Satan's first time through chaos, and he's having a hard time. Right?
Poor Satan.
Poor Satan. Right. Yeah. But yeah, eventually he starts hearing voices mixed with the noise, so he follows that, and he comes to the Pavilion of Chaos, who, yes, is a character here, along with his queen, Sable-Vested Knight. And there's other courtiers, like Rumor and Chance and Confusion and Discord, right? So all of them are just kind of like sitting, in this pavilion, just kind of like, having a little party or whatever. And so Satan stops here and he says, "Ye powers and spirits of this nethermost abyss, chaos and ancient night, I come no spy, with purpose to explore or to disturb the secrets of your realm." And he continues, he says, "You might not have heard, me and a bunch of angels were expelled from heaven. I'm their leader."
And they're like, did they vote for you as their leader?
But anyway, I'm looking for this new world that God created, and if you show me the way, I'm going to try to destroy it and reduce it back to chaos. So by helping me, we'll both win. You get chaos, and I get revenge, right? And Chaos is like, say less, fam. No.
I don't want you as my fam. Hearing about the way you treat your fam.
You got a weird fam, actually. But he's like, yeah, I know who you are. You didn't exactly fall into hell quietly. The whole universe heard you like disturbing my beautiful chaos, right?
What is that? 9 days of.
And then just in the back of this like trail of angels, you just say, "Are we there yet?"
Is that Captain Housey?
That's Captain Housey. Yeah. Does anybody know any songs?
Oh, I got some songs. John Jacob.
He's got one bottle of holy water in the wall. Yeah. But yeah, so apparently when the angels fell, they fell through chaos.
Okay.
So I guess not like down, but like just like through space, right?
Right.
So they fell through chaos, and apparently, according to Chaos, they were making a lot of noise when they did it. But then Chaos is like, and Chaos is actually mad about hell being created too, because that's one more kind of like flag that God planted, right? It's like that's now that's not chaos anymore, right?
Right.
And he's like, but I do hate the earth. So yeah, I'll tell you where it is. It's this way. And so then Milton says, he ceased, and Satan stayed not to reply, but glad that now his sea should find a shore with fresh alacrity and force renewed, springs upward like a pyramid of fire, right? So yeah, so Satan is on his way. He's feeling good. He doesn't even notice the storms or the winds. And eventually he gets closer to his destination. And as he gets closer, all of this chaos kind of like slackens because it's giving way to order. And he can feel the presence of this new world as he gets closer, right? And then he sees the borders of heaven. It says, and fast by, hanging in a golden chain, this pendant world, in bigness as a star of smallest magnitude, close by the moon. So yeah, the earth is hanging from heaven by a golden chain, I guess. So the last lines of this book are, thither, full fraught with mischievous revenge, accursed and an accursed hour, he hies. Not like hi. Not like that, right? Like he goes, he heads there.
Like hi diddly dee.
Like, exactly.
Satan's life for me.
Yeah. Like that kind of high, right?
Okay.
But yeah, folks, that's another cliffhanger, right? Like, so we ended the first book with that council. It's like, oh, what are they going to talk about, right? And now we found out. And now Satan is like, he has Earth in his sights, right? And that's where this book ends, and that's all of my notes as well.
Yeah, what kind of crazy things is Satan going to get up to in the next book?
We'll follow the Beelzebub boys. Looks like man is in a spot of trouble. Yeah. All right, well, that was great. Thanks, past Lester and Keenan. Well, folks, I have been Lester Ryan Clark, both in the past and in the present. You can summon me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I am immune to the bounds of time, and I've been Keenan Diaz, and you can invoke me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Howdy Keenan.
Yeah, find more of our shows and other really cool podcasts at True Story FM. Like us on Instagram and join our Facebook listener group, Dante's Ninth Circle Sushi and Karaoke Bar, or feel free to drop us a message at thedevilsdetails@gmail.com. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? We're not even asking for your souls. Just give us a 5 pentagram rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. That and sharing the show by word of mouth or on social media helps our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. All right, folks. Until next week, love and hisses. Mwah! So Satan's flying to the gates, right? He's flying over the river, right? And he sees his reflection, but he's doing that the leg thing in Maniac. He's like, he's a maniac.
Oh yeah, he's a maniac, all right.
Oh yeah, right. And everyone's and they keep on cutting from him doing these like aesthetically pleasing like workout like flying things, right? Like he's Rocky in the wilderness in Rocky IV, right?
And he's like backlit and his sweat is like flying off in beautiful ways.
Right.
Silhouette.
And so they cut from there and they cut back to the demons, and they're trying to build hell, and it's a different kind of montage, and they're like they're trying to put up a giant like sign in the front of Pandemonium, so Mammon is like up a little bit to the left. But then the guy, operating the forklift, right? He just catches a glimpse of Satan off in the distance, and he's like, "Wow, that's our leader." And he's not paying attention to where he's going, and he bonks Mammon. And it's like, oh, Azazel, get your head out of the clouds. You're never going to be president of the AV club or something.
But by the end of it, Azazel does do it again, and he gets it perfectly. And
right.
Mammon has a little bandage on his head. And he and Mammon look at each other, and Mammon smiles, and Azazel's like, oh.
Just a little tiny smile. It's
got his respect.
You done good, kid, right? Captain Howdy's baking cookies, right?
That's right.
Yeah, he's got a little chef's hat on. Right? Yeah. No, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out in hell, is what I'm saying, right?
So he makes cookies and he pulls them out, and they're perfect. And he's like, yeah. And then the next time we cut back to him, and he takes out cookies, and they're kind of oogie and messful. He's like, better. And then the last time he takes the cookies out, and they're on fire, and he's like, yeah.